What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm your host, John Eads, and for the second time on this program, I'm excited to be joined by former LSU Baseball national champion and pitcher, Will Hellmers.
Yes,
Thanks for coming down, Will.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, check Will out in his post-career venture. He's off to a really good start, doing some really good things at Louisiana Loaded. They just started their podcast, he and Jordy Collada co-hosting it. They've had some great guests, some more exciting things coming up in the future as well. So give that program and that page a follow, and Will's as well. A lot of good stuff on there, not just sports, but culture. Did a lot of Mardi Gras coverage, food every day.
All of it.
Yeah,
all of it. Anything about Louisiana culture, I'm going to go hit it. So that's what we'd like to focus on. You know, Louisiana obviously loaded with culture, and so that's where the name comes from.
Got it.
It's everything: hunting, fishing, eating, drinking, LSU sports, and all Louisiana sports. So we're having a good time and keeping it going.
Good.
Should be fun.
Louisiana is the sportsman's paradise, as
Sportsman's
it says
paradise.
on the license plate.
That's right.
And that doesn't just apply to hunting and fishing and all that. I mean,
No,
sports
sports,
themselves and everything.
Everything.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, right now we're into baseball season. I know basketball is kind of winding down. The women's team is at the SEC tournament as we're recording this, and they'll be in the NCAA tournament, probably hosting a few games. The men's basketball team, barring a crazy run in the SEC tournament, probably not going to be in this year.
Probably not.
So pretty soon baseball becomes the sole focus.
Right.
But where we are right now, one more series before SEC play, and people are kind of panicking, something we've seen before.
Right.
I think it's a little different this time just because LSU's lost 3 games to this point, and they've come against McNeese, Northeastern, and UL, obviously, most recently this past week. And I think people are hitting the panic button a little bit harder this time just because those 3 losses have come in a 2-week span, whereas typically maybe 1 a month.
Right.
You know? Is that kind of where
that's kind of what's going on. It's just everybody, you freak out a little bit because they're inferior opponents. Like, everybody knows that. LSU's top of the food chain, and they have a big target on their back this year also. So that doesn't, and for a fan base too, that goes along with them too. They got, the fan base has a target on their back too. So everybody's LSU's rival. You're always going to get the best of a team. And so you're going to get the best of UL, the best of Dartmouth, the best of Northeastern, whatever it may be, Nichols. The list goes on, even in the SEC. And so you lose 3 in a week and a half stretch, and it's kind of like, what's going on? People start freaking out and start, saying they gotta, coaches gotta make them run polls and do all this other stuff and whatever. They're fine. They're totally fine. And the guy at the head of the ship is the guy that you want. And if you haven't learned that from the past 4 years with Jay, I don't know what to tell you, because he's gonna figure it out, and he's gonna do everything that he can to make that team better. Offensively is obviously their main struggle right now, and it's just where are the bats? Where are the bats? And I know Jay is going to get in there with those hitters and work with them. He's not going to yell at them and scream at them and do that. He's going to push them to be better and to have a better approach at the plate, because they're just not taking the quality at bats that you saw it on early in the season. And that's another thing, is like we know it's there. You played some good teams in Florida, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Notre Dame, Indiana, like all those, the 3 good teams and with some good arms, and you put up some great at-bats against them and played great games, and you pitched well. And so the recipe's there. It's just a matter of keeping it going and coming together. And also, like, they're still learning what they have as a team. Under the lights, you train all fall, and you do the inter squads, and you play against each other, and kind of what you got. Somebody's going to throw 95, like that's not going to change, but somebody's head turns, a corner when the lights come on, and it could go either way. It's just how the cookie crumbles a lot of the times. And so there's, Jay and the rest of the coaching staff and even the team is still learning, like, what do we have when the lights come on and when we get into different situations. They haven't been in a lot of situations yet as a team. And so they're still learning how to overcome adversity. And obviously, like, you want them to overcome it quicker as a fan and a former player and everything. You want them to succeed and overcome quickly, with that adversity. But it's every team's different, It's just a matter. It's going to come. I think, I like to hope it will. It might not. They may not have the team that everybody thought. But I think they do. They have all the talent in the world and a great coaching staff behind them, and they work well together. They have fun in the dugout. They're a good team together, and so it's all there. It's just a matter of when it snaps and when it clicks. I think,
it's kind of weird because we've seen the highest of highs. They score 34 runs. They obliterate everybody in Jacksonville, and then 1 week later, it's the lowest of the lows. You lose 3 games to inferior competition.
Right.
And it just seems like everything that you pieced together the first part of the season quickly just left them, for one reason or another. But it can go like that in baseball sometimes. You can have a great week and then a nightmarish week the next.
Well, think about like a regular hitter goes into a slump, and a team can too. And I think usually you see it a little later in the season. Where you go, maybe you lose 2 series in a row, you lose one at home, and then you lose a midweek right after that, and people are like, oh, "What's going on?" But it's later in the season, and it's happening now a little earlier, where they hit this kind of slow stride, and it's just like people are, and it happens every year. It's just a matter of when it happens in the season, I think, and they're fine. That's what I keep telling people is. They're fine. Look who's at the head of the ship. Like, he's got it figured out. He's going to be fine. They have all the talent in the world, and there's nothing that they can't do. And we've seen it. Like, that's a great thing is people forget that we've seen them be great. We know it's there. Mm-hmm. We know the bats are there. We know that they can, we got 3 starters, for, 3 great guys that are going to throw 5 innings, it looks like, every weekend, which is rare in LSU baseball. You don't always have a Sunday guy. And so – you just don't know, when it happens, and who knows? They may come out this weekend and just steamroll the rest of the way. It's just a matter of baseball's funky, and that's why people love it. That's why I love it. It's because you never know what can really happen, and you can lose to Nichols. Like in 2023, we got no hit by Nicholls State in a midweek. People started, they fired Jay Johnson, and it's like. Look what happens.
Yeah,
it
happens to everybody.
It happens to everybody, and not just LSU, Tennessee, A&M, Mississippi State, like all of these teams. It happens. It's baseball. The end old quote is, "It's baseball. It's going to happen."
Right.
It's just part of it.
I think maybe people are just a little concerned because last year there were losses here, and they lose to Omaha.
Yeah.
They lose to. They get run ruled by Northwestern State.
Right.
But they had that quick response. They rattled off 17 straight wins or whatever it was after the loss to Omaha.
Yep.
Didn't lose again until they went to Austin, I believe, and lost to Texas. And then after Northwestern State, they turned right back around and beat Tennessee in a weekend series. And I think maybe people were looking for that this week. You lose to Northeastern, you pick it right back up in Lafayette. You lose to McNeese. You blow out Dartmouth and Northeastern. Now, they did beat those teams except for the Monday game.
Right.
But maybe it wasn't as pretty as people would have liked, So maybe that's what people are concerned about, too, is they haven't seen that quick response.
I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head there. And look, baseball's not pretty a lot of the times. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. So a lefty throwing 78 to, 86 in his range of pitches might just come out there and totally carve you up as an offense. It just happens. It's weird. And I don't think, honestly, look, when I kind of went back and looked at the schedule, it was really not in their favor how they scheduled. I think Jay mentioned that and that's his problem, and his fault. And that's not an excuse, but it's something to think about where, you lose that game and then you go to UL, which is not an easy place to play, as the in-state rival. Like, there's a ton of people there. There's fights going on in the stands, like all the fun stuff that an in-state rival. That's the best in-state rival that LSU is going to face, most likely. Maybe Tulane, if they're having a good season. I haven't,
play them
looked
later,
in. They play them later in the season.
Right.
Yeah. But UL is the best team you're going to face, and they executed in every way, and That's what's going to happen when you're LSU. People are going to execute against you, and to the best of their ability, and they're coming at you with their best. And so you get into that environment, which a lot of those kids on LSU's team haven't been around before. That Louisiana style, like, hey, let's go, and it's rowdy and it's fun and people are drinking and hooping and hollering, and it's a little different atmosphere. And to go in that for the first time as a freshman or a new athlete at LSU, it's a little different. And so that may have a role of why they came out a little flat and made errors, and it's just part of the game. But they're going to be fine.
It was the first true road game, too.
Yeah,
they
that's
go
right.
to Jacksonville.
That's right.
But,
first true road game.
I was there. I didn't see a lot of Indiana, Notre Dame, or UCF fans, even though
not a
UCF's
lot of gold
like
helmets
an
out
hour
there,
away.
huh?
No, not really.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different when you're in an arena like that and you got
Sure.
thousands of people that want nothing more than to see you fail.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a heated rivalry.
Little brother syndrome
Exactly.
over there.
So hopefully a good learning experience, because that's exactly
Yes.
how it's going to be in SEC play.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm glad you brought up the scheduling things. I do want to pick your brain about this as a former player.
Yeah.
Jay said this is the most aggressive he's front-loaded the schedule before conference play. I went and did the math, though, and y'all typically play 17, 18 games before conference play. This year they're doing 18. I think they did 18 last year. Maybe the thing is, though, I mean, the road trip to UL and the traveling to Jacksonville and the one day off here and there.
Yeah.
Does that catch up to you at a certain point, fatigue-wise and stuff?
It does early on in the season.
Yeah.
Because you're not accustomed to it, especially a new guy coming in, a freshman, a transfer. They're not accustomed to that. The playing that Friday through Monday is a little weird as a new guy. And it does catch up to you, fatigue-wise and muscle-wise and just being out there, because you're out there. They don't get, if 6 o'clock game, they don't get there at 5.
Right.
They're there at 11 a.m. to get ready for their day, and so that takes a real toll on you as you kind of roll through the season, the early part, and you get accustomed to it. But early part of the season, it's a little bit of a struggle, and it's also like there's not as much hype around it, because you're not playing Tennessee, you're not playing Mississippi State, you're not playing. The list goes on. You're playing inferior opponents, and it's kind of like, here we go again. We're playing Dartmouth, we're playing Northeastern, and you try not to have that mentality, but it's a subconscious thing in the back of your head. These things add up, and the days add up. They're long, and you lose one, and it's kind of like, man, got to go back and do it again tomorrow. And you try not to have that mentality, but it is there a little bit, and it catches up with you. But it's good for them right now to be accustomed to being fatigued, get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a big thing, because later in the season, when you get into the SEC tournament, when you get into postseason, regional, super regional, Omaha, that's all it is.
Exactly.
When you get into tournament plays, you're playing 4 days in a row, no matter what. Someday you might even play twice a day, in like a regional championship.
Yeah.
You might have to beat a team twice. And so to have that early on in the season, it's going to benefit them in the long run. Right now it might not look like it, because they're failing, in everybody's eyes, and they're not overcoming what we know they can do. But in the long run, it's going to be much better for them, for sure.
Better to fail at it now than when you fail the season's
when it matters.
over.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not cut out for it right now, I don't think.
Yeah.
But the hope is that over the next couple months they can get there.
Absolutely.
And improve.
Yeah, and they will. It's just a matter of time, and they're learning. They're learning. Jay's learning. Coach Yeski's learning. They're learning each other. Each team, you play with a group of new guys each year.
Yes.
As a coaching staff and as a player, and so you learn each other in the fall. But to be a team playing against another opponent is a different story, and so they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
As they go along with the season, for sure.
If you need a reminder, just look at the Intimidator, right? I mean,
hey.
That's
It's right there.
Figure it out.
It's right there. I don't argue with, Jay Johnson, the guy who's holding 2 national championship trophies in 4 years.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, and his percentage of winning, as opposed to even Skip Bertman, is better. And so that's a guy you trust, to lead your program to victory. That's what you want in a head coach. And in the coaching staff is, another great thing about this year's team, they have the exact same coaching staff, which is the first time, since Jay got there, where that's happened. I think they just added one more
They added a guy
staffer.
from Tulane,
Yeah, that's right.
Justin Bridgman.
added one guy, but didn't get rid of anybody. So you've got that same core group who knows what they're doing. They know how to win. They know how to operate. They know how to go to Omaha and win it, which is the ultimate goal. And to have that as your backing and, the leaders of your program, that's all you can ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he's also, Jay and the rest of the staff, gotten the best out of every team they've had to this point. In 22 and 24, y'all didn't win, but you were playing your best, I feel like, at the end of the season.
Right.
And you squeezed that sponge
exactly
as much as you could.
Yeah. And that's where, like you said, that's when it matters, is at the end of the season. And if you can play your best then that's all you can ask for as a coach. If your team's coming together at that point and has chemistry and can do well together at that point and play well together, that's all you can ask for as a coach. Some years it's just not going to work out. Baseball is a lot of it a lot of luck is involved.
Yeah.
I know Skip has said that a million times. Baseball is a lot of luck, and so that's part of it. And teams get hot at certain times. You look back at like 2022 Ole Miss, and they came into Alex Box. I guess it was just a little bit after the halfway point of the SEC, schedule. They came into Alex Box and swept us. Mm-hmm. I mean, bad. And we were like, whoa, where did this team come from? And they went on after that, and they couldn't lose.
Yeah.
They were playing together. They were having fun, and they got hot right at the right time, and they took it all the way to Omaha. And there's a lot of that in baseball, is getting hot at the right time, being lucky at the right time. How the cookie crumbles in a certain game can, have your whole season go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so, you just hope that that's how it goes for LSU.
Yeah.
And momentum. They gain a little bit. The starters keep going. The bullpen arms pick up. The bats go. And it all takes shape at the right time. And then you look back at 23 and last year, and that's how it goes. And 23 is a little different because you kind of dominate for the most part all season. But even you look back at it, looked like a series at Auburn in 23, and we lose 2 out of 3 there, and we lose 2 out of 3 a few more times. And you're never gonna be 56-0. Mm-hmm. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Ever.
Unless you're playing Shreveport.
Exactly. Hey, which is awesome. That's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Uh-huh. Whatever it was, 63-0.
Something like that.
Which was nuts. But 56-0 at LSU is not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just, it is physically impossible. I'll go down to my grave saying that. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. You're going to lose a midweek game. You're going to lose SEC series. It's going to happen, and you just got to be better and overcome adversity.
Yeah.
That's how you win in baseball.
And they're facing it right now, which could be a good thing, this early to maybe be playing your worst. I mean, this might be the worst stretch of baseball they play all season.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows. They could lose these 3 games, and then all of a sudden, like something changes in that, something clicks in that locker room or whatever. The team has a meeting. We've had that before. Just a player meeting, and all of a sudden it clicks. Like, oof. You might see a totally different team Friday, tonight. I think you might. There's a great chance of it, that you see a different team from now to the end of the season. And you hope you don't find that little slump again, but you might. Yeah. But if they can do it now and learn how to overcome what they went through right now in the beginning of the season, where before you even get to SEC play, that's a huge asset, a huge upside to their team, I think. Could be.
Yeah, because some teams don't experience that.
Yeah.
And when it starts to hit, when it's crunch time, it's regional time.
Exactly.
Murray State's beating you or somebody like that. You don't know how to handle it. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, your season's over.
Right, just like that. It's the best way. This is the best thing that can happen to them.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're going to lose.
Aside from winning all the time.
Exactly. Whatever. But if you're going to lose now.
Yeah.
Don't lose when it matters.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully they don't lose when it matters. But it's baseball. You never know. We'll see. Yeah. Exactly.
I was at Jay's press conference after the game on Wednesday, and he just kind of, in that situation, you'd think he'd be like super mad and, short and all this. He really kind of had this vibe of like, y'all get me now while you can, because a few months from now, this isn't going to be happening. Like he was smiling. He was very insightful with his answers.
Yeah.
Like we tried to get some things out of him a few games ago about the offense and what's going wrong, and he wouldn't really give us much. Man, he let it all spill after this game.
Spill the beans.
Yeah, like he gave you exactly what the problems are, and he seems to have a course of action to how he's going to correct it too.
He absolutely does.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have said anything if he didn't. And knowing him, he knows what to do. He knows that they lose Wednesday, whatever. He has a plan for Thursday, has a plan for Friday. He's got a plan now. And he always, I'm not saying that he didn't, he had a plan, but sometimes plans don't go the way you want them to. But he's got the recipe to make this team great. And he knows, there's part of me that, no, not part of me, I know that he thinks this team can do it again. He absolutely does. Just the way that they recruited, the way that, it came together, the 3 starters, all of that. Look, Jay Johnson's an offensive mind. There's no doubt about that. And he lets Coach Yeski handle the pitching for the most part, besides the pitching changes. He's an offensive mind, and his teams have never historically not scored runs. I think Jay's average is like 9 a game or whatever in his career, whatever it may be. It's probably closer to 6 or 8. But
that'll play.
That plays.
Yeah.
And he knows how to score runs. He's great at manufacturing runs and getting his team to. And you look back, like you have a lot of guys who are returning who can do it and do it in the SEC and against the best of teams. It's just a matter of doing it. And it's not like their talent went anywhere. It's not that kind of thing. And Jay's got a plan, and he's going to attack it, and he's going to attack it with his team and on his shoulders. So it's going to come, and it's going to, like it or not.
It's not wishful thinking either.
No.
We've already seen it. In Jacksonville, they were down, I think, 5-4 to Indiana. They scored 9 runs in 1 inning, and then from there, everything takes shape. So he said it himself, like, this team has played good baseball. You've seen it. It's not like we're telling you it's
not
there,
a mystery.
And we're hoping it happens.
Exactly.
Like, we have seen it.
Right.
So.
And even, like, look, they lose the Northwestern, whatever it is. Northeastern. Game.
Those North whatever schools they seem to just
not
have
the
an issue
Demons.
with.
Northeastern, they're down 13-2, but they claw back in that 9th and they're 13-10. That just shows you, it's there. And even from guys that get in like Eddie Yaman, a few freshmen, they're taking some strides. Like that's the sign of a good team is if you can do that. And sometimes it's not going to go your way. That's just part of it. It's baseball.
Yeah.
But if you can have a team that, everybody on that bench and everybody on the field is working together, and in the locker room you're a team together, it's going to go your way eventually. Because at LSU you're always going to have the talent. Talent is always there. People are going to have bad performances. People are going to make errors. People are going to swing and miss and strike out and look at balls go by. It's part of baseball. But if you can stay together as a team, that's all, it's going to go your way, like it or not. So,
and that's what we'll find out. It seems like they do, but now we'll really see, starting with this weekend.
We'll see.
So
we'll see.
Right now, I think they have a super regional team.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we talk about the pitching. I mean, that's the best aspect of the team right now. You've got 3 starters who you can roll out there and feel really good about giving you a chance to win.
Right.
So you've got that. What you maybe don't have right now is that regional Omaha team, if the bats are going to continue to be quiet, which I don't think they will. I think they'll pick up.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the positive there. Like, you've got that weekend rotation.
Yeah.
And in the past couple of years, that's kind of been an issue. Is the Sunday.
Yeah,
you haven't had the third guy.
Right.
Now you do.
He's
so
there.
That really puts him in a good spot.
And he's strong.
Yeah.
And, looking at it, like, I don't know if the rotation will stay the same. You might not see
the order of it?
The order of it.
Yeah.
I think you'll probably see the same 3 guys for a while unless somebody, has something drastic happen and goes quiet for a few weeks. But I think you may see Cooper Moore go to Friday. He's a little bit more kind of electric with his stuff. And it's not that he's throwing hard, but he locates 4 pitches. And there's just a dip. As a fan, as a former guy, like there's just a different vibe around it when he's pitching for whatever reason. You kind of just have that feeling, and you want that on Friday in the SEC. You do, because you want to get that first game. And you may see Kaysen move to Saturday. You don't really know what's going to happen. It all depends on how they perform, I think, and their pitch counts and all that kind of different stuff. But Schmidt, to me, is going to be the biggest asset to this team if he can keep pitching like that, like he's doing every Sunday and getting better each Sunday, which is a huge thing. And you look at him last year, and it's very, to me, it's very Cade Anderson-ish. And, I look back at my senior year, it was Cade's freshman year. Kind of came in, he was, highly touted, freshman, and doesn't have a great, freshman season. And it's good. He flashes some greatness and in the SEC tournament, does some great things, but starts some midweek games and struggles along the way. And I know William Schmidt struggled a lot last year, getting the ball over the plate. But he comes back this year and is a totally, totally different guy. And you saw that from Cade Anderson last year. And I think, we obviously know William Schmidt's got the stuff. He's going to be a first round, second round guy out of high school. The stuff is there. He's got 4 great pitches, and he's throwing them for strikes right now.
Yes.
And it's hard for hitters to combat that. If you can throw 4 pitches for strikes in the zone, kind of wherever you want them in the realm, you're going to be good. And he's shown it. And if he can continue to do that and be that third starter, or even, maybe you see him move to Saturday and, something else switches up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge thing for this team, because not even, you want to win. What really matters is that you win the series in the SEC. If you can win 2 out of 3 all the time, home or away, you're golden. And that's not going to happen, but you're going to lose a series. It's just going to happen. But later on in that postseason, the SEC tournament, regional, super regional kind of thing, Omaha, that third guy is massive.
Yeah.
I mean massive. Especially in a regional, maybe you go down 1 and then all of a sudden you got somebody who's been pitching great all season who can go out there and give you 6 innings. And it's, then you only have to use a couple guys out of the bullpen. And it's a totally different story in postseason baseball. So I think if they can continue to have 3 guys that are going to throw 5+ innings every week, this team is going to be great. And obviously the pressure is coming with the SEC. The SEC looks great this year. It really does. And that's every year. Yeah. It's another, I say that like it's, not obvious, but it's just another year in the SEC. Yeah. Great teams, great coaches, great competitive atmospheres, like great stadiums, and that's how the SEC rolls. And so it'll be interesting for them, as they go to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt to see what they really have, for sure.
I think that starting rotation does give them a good chance, though, in every series. Because before, it was maybe there was a lot of pressure to win Friday, Saturday, because Sunday it was you're probably going to need to score 10 runs to win. Kind of like a midweek.
Going to have to kitchen sink it, from the
maybe not this
side
year,
of it. Maybe not this year, which is great. Like you look back at, the few Sundays they've played this year, I think they've used, maybe 3
just a couple guys. They really didn't even need to use
most.
that many if they didn't want to, but Jay's still trying to get guys in.
Exactly. And, a lot of guys – they got some great bullpen arms. They do. Maverick Rizzi, I'm blanking, but the list goes on. Reagan Rickent, like the lefties, righty, like it's there, and they're, great part about having starting pitching is you can match up really, really well if you want to. If your starter's going 5 innings every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you can match up great. You got, probably 6 or 7 8 lefties, righties that all their balls are doing different stuff, and the way that they look at the, how a hitter hits and their hot zones and stuff and what pitches they're hitting, you can really match up how you want to in that latter half of the game and go. You can honestly go hitter by hitter. A group of 4 hitters, you got these 4, bro. Go in there, get them out, get out of the inning, go to the next guy and match up how you want to with those and bring a lefty in. And so if you can have guys that are starting games and going 5, 6, 7 innings, then you can really do that effectively out of the bullpen, which is a huge thing.
Good segue.
Yeah.
The circle of trust.
Yeah.
The starting pitching's looked good.
Yep.
The top half of the bullpen has looked great. On Friday and Saturday right now, you could be rolling Kason Evans and just Gavin Guidry.
Yeah.
And then you could be rolling Cooper Moore and just Devin Sheeran. It's not going to work like that all the time.
It won't.
So far, it's kind of what it's looked like.
Yeah, which is awesome. You got those 2 guys, Sheeran and obviously Gavin is. I don't think Gavin's a starter. And I know Jay wanted to give him a chance to start.
Yes,
just because.
I think that was more of a vibes thing.
Vibes thing.
What he
exactly.
brings.
Let's go get somebody. Yeah. And Gavin being a Louisiana kid, that's a cool game for him to start. But Gavin has a closer mentality. You know, you see everybody in this world sees it when he goes onto the field. You know, he's just kind of loose goose, you know, kind of thing, talking to himself like he's just a dog.
Yeah.
Like, and that's his whole vibe. That's how he wants to pitch, and that's how he does. And it goes his way a lot of the time because he has confidence. Dude, if you can pitch with confidence and conviction on all your pitches, how he pitches, it's going to be hard to stop you, even if you don't have the best stuff, and Gavin doesn't. Gavin doesn't have the best stuff on this team by any means, but he gets guys out because he throws with confidence. I think that's a huge part of his, you know, how he pitches. And so you get a guy like him, you know, coming out on Friday, and maybe, you know, as they start to ramp up their pitch counts a little more, you know, maybe you see Kaysen go 7 or 6, you know, 7 innings, and then you don't have to, you know, you're up a little more on a Friday game. You don't have to use Gavin. You can use him for a situation that needs him a little more Saturday or Sunday. And so then I think that's when the bats start waking up, and you stretch a lead on Friday, you use somebody else. Yeah. You know, and you save Sheeran and Guidry for situations when you really need them on, you know, maybe a Saturday, and they'll happen on Fridays. You save your guys for when you need them. But they have tons of talent in the pen. You know, seems like everybody's throwing 95, 97 with a great, you know, wipeout slider. And, you know, as a bullpen guy, you really need 2 pitches to throw all the time. You know, you need a fastball slider, and if you can have a third one, then you can be really deadly. But as a bullpen guy, you need 2 pitches that you can throw for strikes all the time. And they got that. You saw it throughout the fall. You saw it throughout the early part of the season, and you're going to continue to see it. They're going to be great out of the bullpen. You know, they're going to strike guys out like they have with Coach Yessie the past 2 years, and LSU is going to strike people out. It's just kind of a thing. And I think you're going to see the bullpen step up in a big way. And if you can continue to have the starting pitching along with that, then you're hard to beat. You're a team that's hard to beat.
Yeah, complimentary. So, well, that was a big discussion piece leading into the season, was how deep the staff was. You know, between guys that pitched for you last year, some intriguing freshmen, and then some guys you brought in from the portal.
Right.
And just kind of talking about executing roles. For some, that's get this one guy out. For others, it's here's the next 4 batters. We need you to get them out. And at times they've done that well. At others, not so much. So a couple guys that maybe need to step it up a little bit that, excuse me, LSU relied on last year, like Cooper Williams, Zach Cowan. These guys pitched big moments for them last season. But that doesn't mean they're just going to roll into the next year and dominate.
No, it's not how it works. And look, those guys are great athletes. They throw strikes. They have great pitches. They got great stuff. And you know it's there, which is a great thing. Like, you know they have it. They can perform in big situations. They can come in the clutch. Sometimes it's harder, you know, man. It's not your year sometimes, or not your game, or not your inning. And I think you've seen that a little bit with them. Like, Jay even mentioned this. It's kind of a interesting phenomenon. You're throwing too many strikes, which is weird. People don't like to hear that. Like, man, they're throwing, you know, somebody says, I think they're throwing too many strikes. Doesn't add up. Like, look, this isn't 8-year-old, you know, T-ball coach pitch anymore. You can throw too many strikes as a pitcher in the SEC. If everything's over the plate, it's going to get punished one way or another. You got to be able to mix in, you know, some pitches that break off the plate, or, you know, are out of the zone, to where guys are chasing, and, you know, you're giving them different looks of stuff. And I think, you know, looking at Cooper and Zach, that was a big thing for them. They both throw strikes all the time, which is awesome. And sometimes that goes your way, but, you know, sometimes you're going to get punished for that. And I think you've seen that early. But, you know, at the same time, they're the same guys. They got the same stuff, if not better than last year. And you're going to see them eventually perform. And those are 2 huge names that can really help you out of your bullpen. Yeah. And even in like you saw Zach Cowan start, you know, a few times, and do well in Omaha.
Yeah. And so, Arkansas game.
Exactly. You know, and so he's got all the mentality and talent behind it. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it.
Yeah. You know. I think Jay said the issue is they're just missing over the plate too much right now. So there is some real truth to that.
There is.
But the way you avoid that is by getting ahead and staying ahead of hitters, right?
And that's a thing that you've seen recently. And in the 3 losses that they've had is like, man, they're just behind in the count.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of 2-1 counts, seeing a lot of 3-1 counts, 2-0, just counts that you want to stay out of, even against, especially against an inferior team, a team that's not going to make it to Omaha, or a team that you're not going to see, later in the postseason. You do that against an SEC team, it's going to look a hell of a lot worse, for you. If you're behind in the count and, you're always looking at a 2-1 count or a 2-0 count, from the mound, your pitch count's going to go up, and it's just going to start going for the other team, and you see that a lot throughout the season. You'll see it in certain games where, man, they're just behind in the count, and it feels like, man, Arkansas is just pounding them on the base paths and at the plate and in the box, like, well, they're just behind in the count. Look, if you can have a first pitch strike and, or a 1-1 and it goes to 1-2, if you can stay there all game, it's huge for you as a pitcher. There's some statistic, I believe it's close to 70% of the time, if you throw a first pitch strike, that you're going to be out. The hitter's going to be out. It's close to 70%. Yeah, I have to go back and look what it is now. In college baseball, if you throw a strike, 75. If you throw a first pitch strike, close to 75% of the time that hitter's getting out, which is an incredible stat. Just get in the zone early, and then you have a lot of room to work with. So if you can get in the zone and stay in the zone early in the count, hitters are going to have a hard time, competing against you. Sure.
That's why at these preseason scrimmages, you look up the scoreboard and you see it's 96-55 because Jay gives points for first pitch strikes and things like that.
The whole idea behind that score system, all of those, I don't know if you've seen the score sheet of how it's scored.
Well, it's probably very long. I see some of the scenarios.
It is. I don't know, like, if they put it on the scoreboards now,
sometimes
like first pitch strike +2,
yes,
whatever. 2 out of the first 3, which is 2 out of the first 3 pitches that you throw them for strikes.
Yeah.
Whether it's a foul ball or whatever. That's a huge thing. And so the way that whole fall scoring system is designed is these are the things that you need to win. Whether it's, ball in the dirt, we're going to advance to the next, base, +2.
Yeah.
You see that on the score sheet. First pitch strike, +1. Quality at bats, 3 in a row, +6. Those are the formulas and the keys to winning. And so that's how Jay does the fall. So this is what you need to win. This is what you need to win in the inter squad, but this translates to the season, throughout the entire season. If you can have quality at bats, if you can throw first pitch strikes, if you can get 2 out of the first 3, if you can walk, if you can do all these different things, this is how we're going to win. And so that's the formula for how they win. It's pretty cool. It's a neat thing. It's a very niche thing, and it's something I've only seen Jay do.
Yeah.
But I think it does work. Because even in the dugout, like throughout the season, you're like, oh, +2, because of 2 out of the first 3, whatever it may be, throughout the regular season. It's pretty cool.
You also lose points.
Yes.
If you don't execute.
Yes, you do. So. Yes. I lost plenty of points for a number of things. That's how you lose. If you lose, you lose points, and that's how you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And it's just the opposites of the things that you need to win. Errors, like, they've been struggling a little bit with that.
Yeah.
Defensively, you go. It's kind of changing the conversation, but
no, it's
last year, probably best defensive team.
I think it was the best
in
fielding
LSU
percentage in program history.
Which is through 8 national championships. That's a pretty impressive stat. And obviously, best fielding team in college baseball last year, and you come this year, and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
With that. And obviously you have new guys, new talent out there, but it just looks off a little bit. They don't look comfortable. Maybe it's second, third over there. They don't look as comfortable as maybe they should. They'll get there, hopefully, because that's one of the keys to losing games is errors.
Yeah. I think they got 18 and 14 games.
Yeah, which is terrible.
That's 1 per game plus something.
That's unacceptable.
Nobody's more upset about that than Jay, I'm sure.
He's infielder at heart, and so he hates it. I know that, but you need clean baseball to win games, because errors. I mean, you saw it already. 1 error can lead to 3 runs.
Yeah.
I think you saw that against UL. They had 3 errors, I think.
At least.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Probably a couple that weren't called errors,
Yeah.
that were. But, that's got to be a turning point in this team, because if you're going to have guys that are, going to come throw strikes out on the mound, they're going to put balls in play. So you got to be able to field them. And it's a simple concept, but it's something that needs to happen, as a team. And so they'll get there, and, and part of that's just they're getting more comfortable, playing in different places, playing on the road, playing at the box, full. It's a daunting task. And I think that it goes a little bit, kind of into your head, maybe a touch. They're just getting more comfortable, and the only way to fix it is keep going.
That's right.
Nobody else is coming to save you, at those positions for the most part. So you just got to keep going, keep taking ground balls, and they'll fade. The errors will fade. It's just, as you become a team together, you'll see those errors go out the window, I think.
Got to fall back on those fundamentals.
That's right.
If you get down early.
That's
some
the name
people
of the
think
game.
maybe they're starting to press a little bit lately. I mean, you're down 10-0 to Northeastern. You're down 3-0 to UL. You want to make a play. You want to change the game,
Right.
But maybe sometimes it's not the best way to go about it.
Right. Yeah. Going back to the fundamentals is always a key, whether you're shortstop, on the mound, at the plate, in the box, all throughout the field. Going back to the fundamentals, like, hey, field a ground ball, let's throw it. Let's not try and do too much at the plate. We're not going to go try and have the long ball. We're going to take a quality at bat. If they're going to walk us, we're going to let them. We're not going to swing at stupid pitches. All of those different things. We're not going to swing at pitches out of the zone. That's a big thing for Jay. It was always like, look, if you're going to swing at pitches out of the zone, you're not going to play at LSU. Yeah. I know he says it all the time.
I heard him say that recently
says
on the
it
interview.
all the time. Yeah. And it's real. And there's a reason that they have the most walks all the time, like every year. It's because they have great plate discipline, and that's a huge thing. So,
I think maybe they got away from that the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I think so. You don't see them walk as much. They're swinging at some questionable pitches. They just look a little sloppy at the plate, and that just takes a little fine tuning in the cages and in training, during the week when they can. And it's obviously hard to train during the week throughout the season. Yeah. And so, but they'll fine tune it and they'll get better. Sure.
I asked about that because they haven't really had time to practice. I'm like, do you guys really need some time to practice? They said not really, because they practice before the games. But I don't know. I feel like it's better when you have a day where you're not playing a game to really slow things down.
Absolutely.
And just hammer things out.
And as you get into the SEC, you have a few more days. Because you play at either Thursday through Saturday or Friday through Sunday, and then just one. So you got that usually that Wednesday, Thursday, because Monday's an off day. You got that Tuesday midweek. So that Wednesday and Thursday you can kind of devote to things that you want to work on as a team, maybe that you struggled in last week or that's coming up this week with a certain team. Maybe you're playing Tennessee and they got a guy who's great at drag bunting, and so you work on that, and that goes a long way in your weekend preparation. And so they'll have that, as the SEC comes throughout that whole schedule and that part of the season. So that'll be good for him.
He's excited about it. He mentioned that was one of the first things he said is we're back to our regularly scheduled stuff now. Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes a long way. Trying to plan out practice schedules and what we're going to do and how they scout a team like that. It's hard to scout, a team if you don't have a lot of days, to work with. And you're focused on, because you want to focus on one game at a time, but you got to look ahead at UL and at Vanderbilt. You got to look ahead at those teams because that's just the way it rolls. You got to be prepared, and that's kind of the way that baseball is now. There's so many stats and so many different things that you can look at to give you an advantage, and that it goes a long way in how they operate week to week. I know Jamie Tutko, all of those guys, Champ Artiques, like the list goes on of guys that are preparing and how they scout. And it goes a long way and gives them a huge advantage if they can effectively do that in the week. They have a couple of days where they can, hey, look, this Wednesday, Thursday, we're looking at Vandy fully. We're going to get guys ready to, face this guy or face this pitcher. They can hone that in based off of what's coming because they know.
And then you got to execute. Like Jay was very familiar with Deggs and what his style of ball is, the small ball, but you can't be ready for a bunt and then yank the throw.
Exactly.
Or have it out right in front of you and decide not to take it.
There's only so much you can do in practice.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, you have to execute. That's the name of the game. That's baseball, is execution. If you can execute, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
And that's for everybody. But if you can continue to execute throughout the entirety of the game, and because Jay says this a lot, there's about 7 to 10 pitches that decide a game. And you don't know which ones they're going to be, but you have to be prepared and you have to be ready to execute on those pitches, whether it's an offensive play or a pitch from the mound. But there's about 7 to 10, 11 pitches that are going to determine the outcome of the game, which is interesting thing to think about, but it's very, very true.
Yeah.
It's very, very true. You can go back and pinpoint certain pitches where like, man, if we didn't make that error on that pitch, we win this game. And sometimes it's just one pitch. Sometimes it's, 4 or 5, but certain pitches you got to be prepared to execute at every moment.
You can go back to the McNeese game. If I hate to pick on him, Jake's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't overthrow, go to third base, and it goes in the dugout, that run doesn't score.
Yeah.
It's a 6-6 game, and who knows? Maybe they pull that win out against McNeese and extras.
Exactly.
So, good point.
You never know. You got to be prepared to execute on every single pitch, for sure, as a player and as a coach, too. They got to be prepared to be ready to, what they're going to do on each pitch. It's a team sport, so.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to touch on, and then I'll get you out of here. Thanks for your time again.
Absolutely.
As a pitcher, I just want to talk one more aspect of the pitching. The staff collectively, I looked at the numbers, they've done a good job avoiding the walks. I think they've walked about 50 guys, but only half of those, give or take, are traditional true walks. The rest are hit batters. There's been a lot of hit batters so far this season.
Yeah.
Is that something that can change, that early season stuff? How do they knock that number down?
Weird thing. We always treated it the same, walk and hit by pitch. It's the same thing.
It is.
Free bases are, you don't want to come by those, as a defense and on the mound, and I think part of it is you get guys that are kind of, not experienced, and maybe they're a little wonky out there with LSU. And I think if you look back, it's probably a select number of guys that have a lot of those, most likely, and they're probably just, they may be freshmen, they may, be transfers where they're not accustomed to the environment. And another part of it, maybe they're, attacking hitters, they're trying too much, and maybe they're trying to go inside. I've seen that a few times throughout the season. They're, trying to go in a little too hard, and they, drill a guy in the shoulder. And there's part of it that's part of it. Like, that's going to happen. You try and go in on somebody, and it just goes a little too far in. They're not going to look. If you're going to strike a lot of guys out, you're going to walk guys too. It's just part of the game. That's the way to overcome that. Score more runs.
Yeah.
You got to score more runs. That's how you win. You got to score more runs than the other team, and so
or allow less.
Exactly. Simple.
You prefer it that way.
Simple game.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to do both, but they're fine on the mound. They got guys who can throw strikes. Coach Yeski's the best pitch caller and pitch, execution-wise guy in the country, for sure. He's the best pitching coach in the country, and he gets his staff to buy into how he calls pitches and how he executes and all of those different things. And you're seeing it kind of, fade off and be a little sporadic at times, and I think that's just an early part of the season thing. And,
sure.
And as you get into the latter half of the season, look, you got 8 guys. That's usually the number where you get through the season. You got 8 guys that are your guys that you're going to go to in certain situations. And you may see, a flash of somebody else come in there and match up against a lefty or whatever. But you got about, 8 guys who are going to give you the majority of your innings. And so you find those 8 guys now.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing right now. They're finding those key arms that they know that they can rely on in the early part of the season. They're finding them so they can use them, and later on in the season, SEC play, postseason, that's just kind of how it rolls every year. It just seems like.
Jay said he's already found his 8. He said that the other day. He knows who his 8 are. He said he worked more with the pitchers leading into the year than he ever has.
Wow.
Seems like he's very confident in what the pitching is. Now, if they can just pick it up and be a little more consistent offensively and out of the bullpen, they're there. I mean,
they're there.
That's it.
The team is there. Offensively and defensively, they
defensively
have it.
too. I left that part out. That's a big part too.
Yeah. Defensively on the mound, everything's there. It's just it goes back to executing. Like Jay Gochieski, Jamie, Mark Wanaka, Simpson, they can do everything in the world.
They certainly are.
And they are, absolutely. That shouldn't get lost on anybody. These guys are doing everything they can to help these players and these guys succeed. But as a player, you got to go out there and execute. Like that's it. Jay can do as much as he wants in preparing you, but you have to go execute. You have to go throw that pitch. You have to go bunt. You have to go field that ground ball. That's just the name of the game. You got to execute. And look, this gets lost on a lot of people. It's like, man, they just don't look like, they look a little lazy out there, and like they don't look together. And I'm like, look, man, they want to win more than anybody, more than you, more than me, more than Jay. Like these kids, these players, they want to win just as bad as the fan base. I can promise you, and more, and that gets lost on a lot of people. It's like, why do they look like they don't want to be there? I've heard that a few times. Yeah. It's like they just, people are smiling in the dugout when they're down, blah, 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 blah. It's like, man, it's a kid's game. It's baseball. It's a game, and they want to win more than anybody. It's their team, and they take ownership of that every year. It's a different team, and they take ownership. We did it when I was there. This is your team. Do what you will with it. And there's nobody who wants to win more than the players and the coaches. And people, it gets lost on a lot of people.
For sure.
And it's just baseball's fun. Baseball's tough. Baseball's all these different things, and it's exciting. It is, and they have a great team, and they want to win. Just as bad as everybody else, and that's what makes it fun, competitive. They're going to be just fine, though. This team they got all the talent. It's just a matter of coming together and showing, they flashed it already.
Yep.
And so it's there. Everybody knows it's there. And so, let Jay do his thing. Let the coaching staff do their thing. Let this team come together, and they're going to be just fine.
Yep.
For sure.
We're through a month of it, and we've seen the ups, we've seen the downs, and I'm sure there will be more.
Yep, absolutely.
Throughout the season. You hope maybe it's not as drastic up and down.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more of a straight line.
Yeah,
but we're going to find out right about now.
Sacramento
State and then
Sacramento
SEC play.
State, and then off to Nashville.
Yep.
And start
and the party really
SEC.
starts.
And it starts. Yeah, they got a great away schedule this season. They'll have some fun.
Vandy, I think.
Vandy, Tennessee.
Yep.
Ole Miss.
That one's going to be heated.
Heated, for sure. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Good home schedule, too.
Great
Oklahoma,
home schedule.
A&M.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if Georgia's home or away, but Georgia's
home.
Kentucky, is that away? For some reason, I'm thinking
Kentucky's
it's
at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky's the first home one. And then I know they go to Mississippi State, which is always a fun one.
Yes, that one too.
Playing in Starkville's cool. So they got a great schedule, just like every year. The SEC is a daunting task, especially baseball-wise. Be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Looking forward to that, and we'll have to chat about it.
Yeah,
once,
absolutely.
It's all said and done, leading into Hoover, like we did last year.
Yeah,
Awesome,
absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thanks again for your time and expertise. I tried to keep it succinct. We ended up going for quite a while. That's just how it rolls.
Sometimes, you can't handle it sometimes.
Yeah.
Get rolling. So
I think it was important to do a little town hall here.
Yep. Absolutely.
Quarter way check-in. People are panicking, but let's just kind of take a breath and reset a little bit. And get ready for conference play.
See what happens. So it's going to be just fine.
All right.
Absolutely.
You heard it from Will Hellmers. As I said off the top, check out their platform, Louisiana Loaded. He's got the shirt on there. The podcast they do every week, he and Jordy Collada with some awesome guests, plenty of baseball coverage. Absolutely. But everything else, coverage of the whole state.
Coverage of the whole
everything
state,
that's going on.
North Louisiana, South Louisiana. All the culture. Food, drink, eating, hunting, fishing. That's kind of what we stick to in sports. Mm-hmm. So tune in. Feel free. Give it a follow. Give it a subscription. All of the above. Big things coming. So it should be fun.
Well, I've enjoyed it, and y'all keep up the good work.
Will do.
And thanks again for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you next time right here on Game Time with John Eads.